Hi everyone, welcome back to We Persist. My name is Jada and I'm going to be one of your hosts for today. I work here at AYA and the Hattie Redmond Women and Gender Center. And alongside me I have Sami.
Hey.
Sorry, I didn't mean to introduce your name like that. But Sami will also be one of our hosts for today.
Yes.
And then today we have the lucky honor of having two guests here that, we're going to get to know throughout the episode. But we have Belèn and Bree from UHDS, the Diversity Initiatives and Programs team. So I didn't know if y'all wanted to introduce yourselves, just kind of a brief name, pronouns, and what you do.
Sure, yes. My name is Belèn Ojeda Bernal. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm one of the Diversity Initiatives and Programs coordinators.
And I'm Brianna, Brennan, or Bree. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm also a Diversity Initiatives and Programs coordinator.
Wonderful. All right. Well, let's just get into it. Sam, you want to kick us off?
Okay. Our first question here is, what is DIP? What do you do? And what are the DIP's team's visions and goals?
And you can both answer it, or I don't know if you want to divvy it up, just however y'all feel is best.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So DIP is Diversity Initiatives and Programs. And it's been going on for quite some time. It's under UHDS, which is University Housing Dining Services. So it covers all of campus, especially in the residence halls. And we create trainings and discussions about social justice topics and issues. And we provide that to residents through our diversity learning assistants, DLAs, as well as a wide range of different programs that they hold. And yeah, that's a small snippet of what we do, what we work with. So yeah.
Awesome. And did you have anything to add, Belèn?
Yeah, sure. So the program, the DIP program has been active or a thing, I don't know how to say it, for over a decade. We recently learned, and it used to be called, it's MACD, which used to be Marketing, Assessment, Communication, and Diversity.
Oh, interesting.
So it's kind of evolved a little bit, but it's still here. And our hope is to advocate, promote, support diversity efforts or educate social justice education on campus, specifically, as Bree was saying, in the residence halls and dining centers on campus.
Yeah. So I have a follow-up question to that before I get into the next one. But I know, Bree, you had mentioned DLAs. I was wondering, I mean, I know what a DLA is, but I'm wondering if you can briefly just describe what DLAs are and kind of their role and what they do on campus.
Yeah, so DLAs live in the residence halls. There's 14 of them in every single hall. And they've been around since early 2010, 2011. I was actually the first cohort. I was a DLA back in the day as a community relations facilitator. So that was the first one that was in every single hall. That was 2015, 2016 school year. And we just promote social justice and try to educate those that live in the residence halls, especially because you're coming to college for the first time and you're expected to get along with 400 people.
Right. And
everyone has different backgrounds, different knowledge about social justice, and not everyone can get along. So we hope that with the DLA in the residence halls, you can foster some communication and some dialogue about how to be inclusive and welcoming to everyone. And if you can't get along, what are some ways to just live in community with folks that you may not have interests or common backgrounds, but hope to make everyone's college experience nice.
Right. Yeah, especially as a first-year student. I know that, you go through a lot of transitions as you transition to college and become more of an adult, if you will. So kind of similar to an RA or an ALA, but with diversity and social justice
Yes.
work.
Right. They complete specific tasks like bulletin boards, and so each of them has a hall assigned, right? That's where they live, and they create a bulletin board and a topic of their choosing within, you know, some themes that we might provide, and then they can kind of go crazy with it and hopefully make it creative and engaging, and that's one of the tasks. And they do that a couple times per term, and then they also have a co-facilitator for workshops. So they also put on workshops, and they try to, usually we pair co's who live close to one another in the different southeast and west. And they come together and they bring ideas together, and hopefully the residents as well, to talk about. A pair of my DLAs, or DLAs that I supervise, talked about like cycles of socialization and why that's important to be aware of. But it's also a time for them to, they like decorated tote bags, and we're doing that as the activity was, or the presentation was happening, and they had cookies, and it's hopefully both. It's like an educational type of experience, but also allowing for some social interaction and for the DLAs to get to know their community and their residents.
Right, yeah. And I know I'm asking a lot of questions that are like off what I told y'all, but I know that in the past, DLAs have had some interaction with the cultural centers in different sort of iterations, because I know that some DLAs in the past have come to some staff meetings, some in the past have come to none, but they'll still be interactive with us in some ways, like posting their events or posting our events on their bulletin board. So I'm wondering if there's some sort of like structure or something that y'all have in mind for the DLAs that in terms of interacting with the cultural centers.
Yeah, we would love to start getting our DLAs back into the cultural resource centers, especially because in the residence halls, they're the ones that have direct access to students, especially freshman students.
Right.
So being able to promote resources that students are able to utilize, no matter race, background, or creed, it's really great to be able to work together to hopefully let students know exactly what resources are available for them, because
Exactly.
it's really important. So we hope to do that soon. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's been some DLAs in the past where, at least at the Women and Gender Center, we'll read a book for each term, basically, and some of the DLAs have even like read the book with us. So I think that's really cool. Yeah. I don't think that's like an all cultural center wide thing, but
That's really nice.
yes.
I also wanted to mention that that there's been like different, as you were saying, like different iterations of the DIP program, and for some time that there hasn't been like state, or how do you say, like leadership that has been there to stay, and like in this case, like things have also shifted a little bit in that the positions have changed. So there are 2 coordinators now instead of having an associate director. And so the structure of things have also changed a little bit, and we also just started like a month ago to like bring that into context. So we're and I mean I can only speak for myself, but I'm very much still getting acquainted with the program and the work and everything that has, you know, that DIP is and what we do. And so we're definitely hoping that this summer can be a time for us to like come together and make those decisions. And one of those is we really would love to bring back the engagement between DLAs and the cultural resource centers. It's just something that, you know, coming in mid-year, it's not something that you just kind of just bring into students. It's like more of a hopefully created with them, you know, collaboration and such, and that interdependence that we're hoping to achieve. And so hopefully starting next year we can do that.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of bleeds into my next question, but I like that, you know, with you both having like this fresh new perspective that you can kind of co-design something all together with time, at least, like you said, it's middle of the year. So, but that kind of leads me into the next question, which, what is your experience doing this work on campus so far? I mean, being that you've only had 1 month in this role-ish. Like, you can speak to that side of things, or even maybe if you worked on campus in the past, how that kind of blends into your current role right now, like however you interpret that question. We'd love to hear it. From either of you.
Awesome. So I started my college education here at OSU. I graduated in 2017. During that time, I was what is now equivalent to a DLA under Brandy, who is our supervisor, who is not here, unfortunately. But yeah, so I started out with my on the ground running, really involved in social justice. I also was really involved in multicultural sorority that I'm trying to bring back right now, but just being able to bridge the gaps that we've seen a lot of students of color get lost in. I was trying to bridge the gap between POC students and try to get them to be more integrated towards the greater campus, because it is a lot to deal with. But yeah, I got my master's at Louisiana State University and then came back here to work as a resident director. So I actually just left my job as a resident director to become a DIP coordinator. This last fall term was my last official time. I worked in polling, so I worked a lot with the NIA and Muxkukum living learning communities, which mostly help Black Indigenous students to hopefully succeed and see them succeed in their graduation in college. And there's also another living learning community in that, which is business. So we work a lot with the College of Business and hopefully making future entrepreneurs and business folks to make the world more
awesome.
Go, I guess. Yeah. So, diversity was just one of those things that I've always just been a part of. Been part of a lot of different organizations on campus, a lot of clubs and organizations, and just try to help where I could. So,
right. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. And then.
Yes. For me, so I'm from Chile. So I lived my entire life in Chile. I came to the U.S. for a little bit in 2015 to study abroad, and then I was an English teacher for a while there, got that degree in Chile, and then I decided to come to the US and get my master's degree in interdisciplinary studies. I just graduated with that degree in the fall.
Yay.
Thank you.
So slay of you.
And so I completed, as I was completing that program, I worked for diversity and cultural engagement, just as you do now. I was a graduate teaching assistant for diversity and cultural engagement, and in that time I got to work with El Centro Cultural Cesar Chavez. That's where I first started for a couple terms, and then I transitioned to the Etihad Cultural Center. I was there for one full academic year, and then I was kind of given a choice to kind of decide where I wanted to go, and I chose the Hattie Rittman Women and Gender Center. And I worked with you lovely ladies for one term. And so, I mean, to be honest, when I first arrived, I arrived to a different world here in terms of what social justice is and means. And there is just so many differences with how it is experienced in my background. In terms just historically, we just have such different histories in our countries. And so obviously I think that as a result of that, my experiences will just differ very much. And so it was it was a culture shock. I thought when I first arrived, I was like, oh my goodness. And I hadn't experienced this shock when I was in Michigan that first time. And so that one experience prepared me in multiple ways to be abroad and experience life with different people and expanding my way of thinking. But this was a little bit different, and also like engaging in these topics in a higher education as a graduate student. And so it was challenging, and it was also very fulfilling, I think, to engage with it. And as I learned more and became more comfortable with like or realizing that I have a voice and that voice can be shared and there's a space for me, and that also means that there's a space for everyone's voice as well. And so like realizing all these things and how to make those spaces valid and present and provide those moments, I think. I don't know, I was just learning from all of that, and having great supervisors and great teams and diversity and cultural engagement was really wonderful. And I feel like that's how I kind of decided to apply for this position. Which, and also my position as a coordinator has also Spanish specific aspects to it. I do some work that is very specific to like the second language or my first language, that I can engage with communities to and support communities here in that capacity. And so, I think I'm trying to bring in as much of the work and my wisdoms and curiosities into this new space, and as I continue to learn and grow, and hopefully also provide the knowledge that I've acquired. And I don't know, social justice is such a living, breathing process that is just like changing so often. But I feel like, I'm here for it. So I'm here to experience it and hopefully, support the students and the program. And
oh my gosh.
Make it
Preach,
cool.
Belèn. That was so good. Preach. It's great. It sounds like you both have, your own lived experiences and also your unique perspectives that I think is really valuable as you're entering into a role that is so new and that can be created into something that you all want it to be. So I think that's super awesome, and I loved hearing that perspective. Thank you so much for supporting me. Clearly,
Just hair has a mind of its own.
yes, But
But I also wanted to share some gratitude about how you guys are coming in. As I know about coming in really like midway, it's pretty hard to get some footing and to know where you guys like want to go. But also I wanted to kind of just like shout out to you guys for having all these like both unique experiences and coming from different places, and you don't really know that people or students outside of OSU and at OSU are kind of dealing with that same experience, so that you guys are able to take your unique experiences and put them out to be useful for other students. So just being here and being present and existing is actually just a really good sign.
yeah.
Thank you.
Props to you both.
Yes, definitely. I appreciated listening to that and just your passion on social justice and knowing that we need it here at a PWIs. Yes.
It's rough out here.
It definitely is.
We're definitely trying to.
It's rough out here for women of color.
We're definitely trying to help bridge that gap with Racial Aikido. That's a retreat that has been going on since I think 2008, and it's always kind of been in the wheelhouse of DIP or the equivalent of DIP, and we're just really hoping to bring it back and help students of color navigate how to be students of color in a predominantly white institution, because there's pockets of diversity, but just you have to look for it, and not many people want to go out of the way to look for it because they're like, well, this is I have a class with 30 plus people and I'm the only person of color. It gets very overwhelming.
It's hard to navigate,
Yeah. So just knowing that there's resources, not just DIP, not just DCE, but like EOP, TRIO, CAMP. There's like so many different resources that are available for students to help navigate. I think it's just really beneficial. So I want to make sure that there's a voice and there's a space for that.
Yeah.
So we are hoping to have a Racial Aikido retreat here on campus this year, so this spring term.
Is Aikido, I just have to ask, is that the martial arts? Okay,
Yes.
because I used to do that when I was little, and no one knew who or what Aikido was.
Yeah.
It was always like, what is the karate?
Isn't it just like using your opponent's strength against them?
I seriously have no idea. I probably should know for taking it. When I was little, I took it for many years, so I should probably know, but
Yeah.
It's like,
Go for it.
we take it a little like same kind of practices and concepts. So like recognizing, responding, and replenishing is kind of the idea of, I think, Aikido in itself, like using and like the other person's like approach to you, and recognizing it and learning ways to respond, and then as that can be challenging and draining at times, like how do you replenish your spirit and your I don't know, yourself, and to
Right.
keep going. And so that's like, we have different sections in the retreat where we're hoping to they're all with ours, so like respect and how we come as a community and what this will
Right.
be and how it is that we interact with each other in this space, and then we go on to recognize. And so we talk about theories and what racism and how it can show itself, and how do we understand ourselves, DI and identity and such. And so how can we respond in ways that make sense to us? Who are we in those contexts, and how do we
Right.
want to respond in some alternatives, right? And
Right.
giving each other some strategies, tools, right, to manage those things, and then like replenishing, and how it is that we come back after and kind of take care of ourselves in the process too. And so that's our hope. I've been like working on racial Aikido right now, as Bree was saying. We're hoping to bring it back more like in person. We had a online version last time, and so we're hoping to
Right.
bring it back. It won't be as long, I don't think, as it used to be, like a full weekend, like getting the vans and go kind of thing. It will be more on campus. So baby edition, but still hopefully will be impactful and meaningful
Yeah.
for folks who participate,
course, yeah.
and for us too, who facilitate it as we interact with people in that capacity.
So Aikido is almost like a framework then, less of like
Yes,
the
I would
actual
say.
like
Yeah, it's
martial arts.
it's more mental and verbal than
Right.
physical.
Right. I love that though. That's awesome. And I'm sorry, I keep
No, you're good.
steering the conversation.
I was just going to say that I went to a Scholarly Sisters self-loving event, and then on the next day we did the Black Women's Brunch, and there was a lot of talk about making sure that you're replenishing yourself, self-love, and just like self-discussion and guidance about how to navigate these kinds of spaces and what you should do. What we noticed more is that self-care and self-love is often kind of tied to money and, getting your hair done, like doing like maintenance. And so the question formed is like, okay, so how do we do self-love, and how do we have a guide for self-love without money for people who are broke, So it was a lot of conversation just about like the mental capacity and making sure that you're taking care of yourself on an emotional level, and giving yourself time, grace, and space to navigate those spaces as well. So I'll cut that off there. Go
No,
to the next question.
Amazing thoughts.
And the next question is, if you had unlimited resources, what would you want DIP to do? So obviously it has been...
Pretty loaded question.
Yeah, it was like, it has been a short amount of time since you
Okay.
got in, but is there any goals?
I'm calling Brandy in right now, so Brandy's our DIP director.
Right.
And she unfortunately could not be here today, but we asked this question of her because I've been here for a month, and you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And what is possible? I don't know.
Right.
And so we asked them, and this, can I just like read their
Go ahead,
answers?
Yes.
go ahead.
Okay. They said, with unlimited resources, I would like to expand our training and educational opportunities for staff in UHDS. I'm a huge proponent of continuing the education of professional faculty and staff around DEI and social justice topics, which helps create a sense of belonging for students. It also takes the ownership off of students to educate all the time. I would also create a mentorship program for students of the global majority who are underserved in U.S. higher education institutions that would pair students with a live-in student staff member. It would likely be our DLAs, which means I would want to hire more of them to serve that need. Thank you, Brandy.
Shout out to you, Brandy.
Yes.
There's a lot in that. I liked that. There's one thing that you spoke about that I really gravitate towards, and it's something that I've been thinking about lately, is that it takes the responsibility off of the students to always try and educate. Because I feel like, I mean, if we were to relate it to all of our backgrounds of being women of color, like I feel like that's something that we always have to navigate all the time, is taking that emotional labor and investing that into educating other people when it takes a lot out of us. So
Absolutely.
Very draining.
Social justice is really draining and tiring, and I think it is a top-down approach for how we navigate social justice and have those discussions. I know for like retaining students, a lot of students leave the university because, especially students of color, students of minority and underrepresented populations, because they don't see people that look like them. So I think we need to start hiring folks of different backgrounds, so that in the classroom, students can be like, oh, I have a professor that looks like me, or I saw this staff member who has the same background as me, came from the same city or something. And I think it's a top-down approach for taking a lot of that work off of students to be like, well, no, actually, this is not right. You can't say this in a classroom, or I don't feel comfortable in this space, and naming why they don't feel comfortable in that space, and trying to either change it or adapt it so they can feel empowered to be here and fight the power in some sense of just completing a degree. Because it is really impossible for some students to get that support either at home or, sorry, at school to complete a degree, especially when coming here to OSU. So.
Yeah, definitely.
I know.
I just read about this in social psychology yesterday, how it actually does matter to have representation in classrooms specifically. There is not only like a psychological effect, but also an academic effect. And since not many people know that, not many teachers know that, it gets pretty murky when it comes to defining students of color's success and why they're leaving, things like that. So, awesome job.
No, that's cool. That's awesome you talk about it in your social psych class, because when you think of social psych, you think of things like appearance-wise and things like that. So it's interesting that you talk about something so personal like that.
Yeah, I think even within that conversation as well, I was a bit drained, because it's like being a Black woman in psychology, there's not many people that look like me. And there is often that kind of laid on responsibility when it comes to talking about the intersectionality of how people of color, students of color, but Black women and Black men, and how they navigate those spaces. Just being in the field, being psychologists, but also being students. And it just gets really, really thick. There's so many things that come into play, and it's just we can be here all day, and it still wouldn't have enough room to explain everything.
Right.
So.
And I'm wondering, since we're just on this theme, gonna go off the questions a little bit, but being that, us all sharing the same identity as being a woman of color, obviously it looks different to each of us because we have our own unique identities and lived experiences as well. But I'm wondering, as we're on this kind of train, what we do as women of color, working and going to school at a PWI, how we take care of ourselves in times of, stress, or I think this comes up in the discussion group a lot, but I think it's good to reinforce a lot of times. But what are ways that we're fostering our well-being, and what are ways that we are taking care of ourselves, especially since we go through a lot and it's rough out here, you know? So
I think just finding community, however that looks. For me, I had a bunch of great coworkers and still do now, but it just changed a little bit. But I had resident directors for a long time, and we would just hang out, talk. I also have 2 dogs, so I am able to walk them. Now it's off campus, which is great. I don't have to take a 5-minute walk, and it takes 30 minutes to get through campus just because people want to pet them. But just being able to recenter myself.
Sorry, I've never thought about that. My goodness.
It's literally as soon as I get in my apartment, I just get inundated with people like, oh my gosh, can I pet your dog? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. 20 minutes later, I'm still in the lobby.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's fine. But just finding things to do often on campus. I like to play video games. I also like reading books and just spending time away. I'm a social introvert, so I find a lot of energy when I'm hanging out with people, but then as soon as I get back into my apartment, I'm like, okay, nope, I'm just gonna chill for the rest of the night, not gonna do anything, talk to nobody. So that's one of those things that I like to do. And also just surround myself with good people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Social introvert. I've never heard of that term. I'll have to coin that. Social introvert. Awesome.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's hard, y'all. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like now that I'm in this position, it's also like I'm finding that I need new ways to take care of myself. Like not bringing, like I can't, because I think and overthink a lot, and so sometimes I'm bringing things in my head like home about what's going on, and I'm not that it's not important, you know, always, but I'm like, I'm not working right now. I need to leave this in my office, and I will pick it back up on Monday, and I will deal with it. But this is a new way. Like I don't think that these things happened to me before, of like going home, at least not for a while. Not in my previous work. It was mostly schoolwork, what I was taking home and just thinking about and whatnot. And so I feel like that's a way for me to learn, that I need to learn. I'm practicing it already, trying to reach out to friends. I think having and finding, but most of all, fostering a community and really putting in the time, like the effort to have a community, because it doesn't come naturally. I don't think for people of color and women of color to just, oh, like I'm coming to this thing and here you all are, and oh my God, let's hang out. Like you have to go and find these people.
Right.
And I mean, not that we hang out only with other, people of color, but it's like people that we connect with and that feel understood and who, understand or are welcoming to our experiences and backgrounds, no matter their background. Mm-hmm. And so that's something that I have practiced, of going and persisting in trying to build those connections, because I think that's one of the most important things for me, is having meaningful connections with people, not just in a work environment, but it's like, or just hanging out, like, oh yeah, we can go watch a movie or something, but it's also like knowing each other, learning about each other, and having each other for to go through stuff. Like I feel like that's what, or maybe it's like, I feel like that's a lot of my culture too, like Latinos, where like we don't let our friends suffer alone. Like we there's no such a thing as like space, like, which I'm not saying is great, because sometimes my mom and like, hija, what is going on? I'm like, nothing, just like let me deal with it. Like, no, what is going on? You have to tell me. I'm here for you. Yada yada yada. And so, growing up in that way, I feel like that's kind of what I crave a little bit, with adjustments, of course. And so, I think like trying to find community and sleeping, going to bed early, is really nice. and reading and rewatching. I'm a rewatcher. I
Bridgerton.
find comfort in rewatching stuff.
We still need to talk about Gilmore Girls.
Indeed, we do. Yes.
Have you seen
Yes, we
Gilmore
do.
Girls?
No, but I am very interested. It's been
You
a
should.
Well,
very
you need
strong
to, and then
fandom.
we can debate on whether you're Team Dean, Logan, or
Jess.
Jess. See, I already forgot about Jess. If you can tell, I'm Team Dean.
Logan.
Yeah.
Just
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yeah,
What team are you?
it differs during the seasons, and that comeback special, I was just like, oh boy.
I know.
What a hot mess.
That was interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. And we need to watch the last episode.
I know. Well, Netflix cracked down on that screen rule, and now I'm
Yeah.
just sad because now I can't watch anything on Netflix.
Oh,
Capitalism.
dang.
Okay, so being mindful of time, since we don't have much, I'm thinking we can do this one really quickly since it's the last one. But as a woman of color on campus yourself, however you interpret that, what advice do you have to provide for the community? And community can be however you define it, but this might be a quick lightning question.
I can go
since-
first.
Okay.
Like, I feel like I said already what I felt like community and stuff, but there was something else, and I have this quote written in all of my notepad, little things. I just carry this quote with me. It's pretty long, but I feel like my advice or something that has helped me is kind of going back to this quote, and let me just read it.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know why I just got really nervous. Oh my God.
No, don't be.
Okay. It goes, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. But we're all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And so this is from Coach Carter, the movie, which I love. Tito, I think, says this, but I come back to it because that's what I was saying earlier about finding your voice, realizing that you have a voice and that, you know, you finding that voice and finding that, you know, shining and your potential and all these things, like liberate others and, you know, bring them up and provide this, just show that there's a space for each other. And so
Awesome.
that's what I don't know.
Love that.
Watch the movie and I don't know.
I'll do. Okay.
Yeah,
We
lightning
want to
round.
finish this out.
Yeah, so there's community for everyone. Just kind of depends on what you want to do and how much effort you want to put into it. So yeah, get out there, make friends. It's like kindergarten all over again.
Yeah.
Just
Honestly.
adulting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Belèn and Bree, for
Thank
being
you.
here. I had a great time.
Me too, me too.
Yes, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm assuming Sammy had a great time too. But it was so nice having y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the last episode of Still Persist for this term, but catch us next term in spring. But thank you again.
Thank
Thank
you so
you
much
for
for
having
having
us.
us.
Yes, yes.
Had
Bye,
so much
everyone.
Have a good one.
fun. Bye, guys.